I'm very happy to be part of the panel. And just from my industry, the tech industry and the software, internet, and we have really come a very, very long way in terms of where we stand in the AI ethics. So really, there's three things that you have to do to make this work. First, of course, is the level of awareness. You have to start from the very top. When I started the Tsinghua Institute for AI Industry Research, one of my first email was to state our principle, the 3R principles: responsive AI, resilient AI, and the responsible. So the thing, when you work on technology, you have to be responsive, to the needs of the industry and the society. You talk about autonomous driving. You talk about the work that accelerates drug discovery, the technology that improve personal health, all those things. And also have to be resilient, transparent, explainable, and robust, and also working on the things that reduce data bias, the model vulnerability, and the security. And responsible as well, especially for engineers and scientists. You have to make sure that you put ethics and the value beyond just technology itself. And I was the president of Baidu for a few years, actually. And Baidu, there was a committee on data for privacy, security, and governance. And I was the chair of that committee, and making sure we have the right people and have a cross-company initiative. The second element, which is very important, is you have to map this into the right domain. For your product, your industry, you have to start with data. To avoid data bias, you have to start with the right kind of data: the integrity, the right of data, the scope of use, and the life cycle of that data. And also you have to develop and apply the right type of algorithms. The deep learning, which is a little bit opaque. There are also other AI algorithms which are more transparent. And you need to somehow making sure there's a logic, the rule-based, knowledge-based, that is part of the AI algorithm. And also you have to control the training, learning, and the inference. In AI algorithm is like a baby. It's like your dog. You have to train it, making sure it evolves and have the right kind of environments. And the last one, which is super important, is you have to have an operational framework, the right type of workflow and toolbox, decision-making process. Otherwise, you won't get anywhere. In fact, when I was in Baidu, we had a data agent that actually owns the flow and the management data. And also they'll be held accountable. By the way, actually, I just read the work from the World Economic Forum on unlocking the public sector AI, the AI procurement in the box, the workbook, the tool set. I thought that was really important because a lot of times you talk about AI, you have that level of awareness, but you don't have the right type of execution framework, the right type of tool to make it work. Let me just say that. I'll be out of time.
We were just having a conversation about sort of drawing red lines around the technologies for whatever reasons. And I think I wanted to ask you, actually, you've seen this from different perspectives, right? You have the US view, because from your time at Microsoft, you have the China view. What do, I guess, business leaders need to understand about how countries view these issues differently?
Well, there are obviously a common set of principles, the value, the ethics. We just talked about some of the responsibility, accountability framework. I think it's also important to recognize that there are differences. This is just like the product you build. The product you build are for different customers. The ones that are built for Chinese customer might be different for US customers. And also you have to understand the regulatory differences and understand the rules and regulations. And I'm actually very happy to see both US, Europe, and China they have developed a very, over the last few years, a set of rules and regulations and the policies in China. There's a lot of work from different ministries and agencies in terms of security and privacy and data issues. So I see progress, but also I think we need to recognize the difference in terms of the market and the users and the kind of industry.
A year ago in Davos, almost exactly a year ago, some big tech companies called for more regulation of AI. I want to know from each of you, what would be most effective in the near term in ensuring the responsible use of AI? Is it international normative red lines? Is it informal agreements between private sector players? Is it something else altogether? Professor Zhang, final word?
Yeah, I was, number one, and there has to be an open and candid dialogue in governments, in NGOs, academia, and industry. And the second thing is, I would say, let's make sure we have the right technology, the tools to reduce the data bias, to making sure we're dealing with the right kind of framework in terms of privacy, security, and the data sovereignty. For example, there's a lot of great progress in the last few years in terms of this. For example, homomorphic computing that allow operations done in encrypted data, federated learning that can do learning without actually sharing the original data, and the differential privacy, a lot of things, and also the technologies that reduce the data leakage and making sure we can add the rules and the logic to the algorithm from black box to glass box, and we have a lot of scientists working on this, the knowledge extraction and making sure it's knowledge driven instead of just data driven.
Thank you all again, and thank you to everyone who's watching online. For those of you who are participating in the discussion groups, if you could just stand by for about 90 seconds, you'll be placed into those breakout rooms. Thanks for your patience.